Good morning. Welcome to your Terrific Tuesday. Let's start our Terrific Day with the wonderful Peak State programming. So let's start. Good to see all the smiling faces. How wonderful. Let's start. Yes. I'm a winner. Little Miss Shah is also running with us today. Welcome, bacha. All right, let's start. Second side. Yes. We all are winners in a game of life. How wonderful. All right, Sanjay sir, let's have the first book for the day, Mirror Work. So I was completely off phone yesterday. How was the exercise? Did you actually draw? I should have shared mine also, but I had done it before. So how was it? Did you feel good? Did something come out? Could you draw your emotions, your inner child? And today is, of course, part two for that. Karishma, would you please read for us, if possible? Thank you, my dear. So, Loving Your Inner Child, Part 2. Today, you're using mirror work to forgive the past and begin to love the beautiful child within. Today is all about going deeper and deeper. Yesterday, we met the little child, him or her. Today, we're going to be meeting a little more. So, let's understand this journey and let's start.
Loving Your Inner Child, Part 2. Today you use mirror work to forgive the past and begin to love the beautiful child within. How are you and your inner child doing today? Are you getting to know each other a little better? I have found that working with the inner child is extremely valuable in helping to heal the hurts of the past. We are not always in touch with the feelings of the frightened little child within us. If your childhood was full of fear and physical or verbal battles, you may have a habit of mentally beating yourself up. When you do this, you are continuing to treat your inner child in much the same way. The child inside, however, has no place to go. Many of us have an inner child who is lost and lonely and feels rejected. Perhaps the only contact we have had with our inner child for a long time is to scold and criticize it. Then we wonder why we are unhappy. We cannot reject a part of ourselves and still be in harmony within. Today, let's use our mirror work to move beyond our parents' limitations and connect with the little lost child inside. Let's forgive the past and begin to love this beautiful child within. This child needs to know that we care. Most of us have buried many feelings and hurts from the past. Learning to love your inner child is going to take time. Take all the time you need. Return to these exercises again and again. You will get there, I promise. Your inner child still carries the beliefs you developed early on. If your parents had rigid ideas and you are now very hard on yourself, or you tend to build walls around you, your inner child is probably still following your parents' rules. If you continue to pick on yourself for every mistake, it must be very scary for your inner child to wake up in the morning thinking, what is my parent going to yell at me about today? What our parents did to us in the past was a product of their consciousness. We are parents now. We are using our consciousness now. If you are still refusing to take care of your inner child, you are stuck in your own resentment. Invariably, that means there is someone you still need to forgive. What resentment do you need to let go of? What haven't you forgiven yourself for?
So, if we are still stuck in the rut, which we may be, of criticizing ourselves, ridiculing ourselves, belittling ourselves, that too unknowingly, so that means that we are still stuck in the little child world of ours where we were probably told a little harshly or maybe for the better of us. So our parents only want the best for us. In that moment, one doesn't realize that, just being tough is sometimes being bad. What's happening right now is, remember when used to get agitated, chased off, my parent is saying something, nobody wants criticism, but that is happening now. You're all the time telling your little child, this went wrong, that went wrong, that went wrong. So we have to learn our inner child by simply giving it time, because that little child is scared. So obviously, if it's scared, all it needs is a balm of love. What do we do in this getting this balm of love phase? We visualize and we go further. So let's read about visualization.
For now, visualize that you are taking your inner child by the hand and going everywhere together for a few days. See what joyous experiences you can have. This may sound silly, but please try it. It really works. Create a wonderful life for yourself and your inner child. The universe will respond, and you will find ways to heal your inner child and the adult you. No matter what your early childhood was like, happy or sad, you and only you are in charge of your life now. You can spend your time blaming your parents, or you can embrace love. Love is the biggest eraser I know. It erases even the deepest and most painful memories because love goes deeper than anything else. Think for a moment. Do you want a life of pain or one of joy? The choice and power are always within you. Look into your eyes and love yourself and the little child within. Let's affirm, I love my inner child. I am in charge of my life now.
So today it's going to be beautiful because today you're going to be moving around with a little child in you. So whether he or she is sitting with you, is like taking a shower with you, is dancing with you, is walking with you, is inside you or is outside you, it doesn't matter. But if you start to visualize him or her outside or with you, you're really going to have a time which is going to be therapy. A lot of people say, what is this happening? A lot of people are saying, what is inner child? What is higher self? So, inner child is you. It's your this state of life. If I am Niriksha Dagan or a Karishma Kala in this life, the inner child is a reflection of me, of what I've been from the time of I've been 0 years of age. The new consciousness is coming in that, okay, this is my life, this is my life, this is my life. We haven't reached the consciousness where we're saying, I am aware, I'm neither the body nor the mind. We've not reached there. So we're pretty much a physical being, and this inner child is extension of us. It's actually a small little child that is scared, which has been told in life that ye wrong hai, ye wrong hai, ye wrong hai. And as you've become that parent or that teacher or that coach or that strict elder or guardian who's been telling you to become better and better and better, and now you have taken that role. So, role reversal has happened. So, please be careful to bring out the little child, spend time with him or her, talk to him, have a conversation. Very important to understand that this is therapy and this is one of the most important parts of mirror work. What did we do today? Today we stand on the bathroom mirror, look at us, the picture we had yesterday, we made something right, or the picture that we had yesterday, which we'd taken out. So even if you don't have the picture, you can see in your mind. Take a moment right now and tell your inner child that you care. Say these affirmations: I care about you, I love you, I really love you. Sit in front of the mirror where you can sit. So please, again, I'm saying sit, and you can have a handheld mirror, you can be in front, seated in front of it, whatever. Continue the conversation with your inner child that you began yesterday. You could open with an apology saying something like, I'm sorry, I haven't talked to you over the years. I'm sorry, I scolded you for so long. I want to make up for all the time we spent apart from each other. You could even tell your inner child, I'm sorry, I didn't even know you existed. And I'm so sorry, I had never had an idea that a little me was already there. You can name your little child, you can have a conversation. Please be ready to say sorry and make up. And then you will all of a sudden have a barge of, you will have such a surge of emotions that you might get overwhelmed, because all of a sudden you're just telling the child, thank you, I know you exist. And the poor little feeling of the child inside has been staying there without having been talked to ever. So imagine after 20, 30, 40, 50, 70 years, if you're now talking, so obviously be ready to get overwhelmed. So if you haven't talked to your inner child in 50 or 60 years, it may take some time before you feel like you're reconnecting, but be persistent. Eventually, you will make a connection. You may feel the child inside you. You may hear the child inside you. You may even see the child inside you. Keep your box of tissue ready. It's okay to cry when you're having this emotional breakthrough. Tears will help you break through and connect with the child within you. It's absolutely all right. So when I worked with a couple of elder people, like most of my students were, I think, in the 70s and 80s and 60s, 50s in the evening batch. So they were like, we never even knew about this, and all of a sudden they felt कि अब मैं छत पे गई, लेके गई, पूजा कर रही थी, साथ में बैठा हुआ था, इतना अच्छा फील हुआ, इतना रोना आया, इतना थेरेपी मिली, and after that they saying इतना कुछ था अंदर, everything came out, and now they're able to express themselves so easily. So whatever age you're in, please do this therapy. Really, it's very, very, very important. And we have to journal as always. So when you were little, what did you really like to do? Write down everything that comes to your mind. But so say you like soccer, you like football, or you probably liked badminton, maybe some sport, maybe singing, maybe dancing, maybe just whatever you liked, whatever hobby you liked. Please write that down. Or even if you like studying, whatever you love to do, please write it down. Write down everything that comes to your mind. When was the last time you did any of these things? Too often, the parent inside us will stop us from having fun because it's not the adult thing to do. So please go out if you want to have fun, want to do a rain shower, want to play with a hose pipe. Just have fun. Want to go for a pillow fight, want to run around the house, do whatever. It's very, very, very important to have fun. Now put down your journal and go outside and play with your little child. So, for this, the best is to play for yourself if you really can, because playing with your children is definitely fun, but playing with yourself is something you have never learned and you've never done. So just go have fun, and you see people will say, "Oh, such a big man, and person is doing it." So it's all right. You can do it in front of in your bathroom, in your bedroom. At least no one's watching you there. At least be silly there. Do the silly things you loved to do when you were young, like jumping in a pile of leaves, running under a garden sprinkler. Watch other children at play. It'll bring back memories of the games you enjoyed. If you really want to have more fun in life, make the connection within you. It's very important to find that inner child and come from that space in a space of spontaneity. I promise that you will start having much more fun. So please do not have any filters attached. After this, life really starts to become wonderful. So you know what happened with me when I did the book first time? All of a sudden, that the Tom and Jerry thing started happening, running around, people started happening. It's funny, the other day we went Shogi and Muskan telling my parents and grandparents, Mom and Dad keep having a fight. He runs and she's running after him, and they're like, what are you talking? How can elders do that and run in the house? And I was so embarrassed. I said, Muskan, you don't have to spill the beans in the world. My parents think I'm like a one big child. And my nanny's like, तुम अभी भी भागते हो, प्रशांत जी के पीछे भागते हो. I'm like, wow, what's the big deal? So please do not judge yourselves. Just grow, just become who you are, have fun in life, bring out the child. You don't have to always be like, I'm on the best foot forward. Let children also know that parents are also childlike in their abilities. Parents are also human beings and they don't have to be picture perfect. That's one thing we parents do sometimes, I feel. Putting on a best foot forward, that this is who we are, strict, हमने ये experience से सीखा है. No, we are all growing, so are they. So I am willing to change and grow is the most important affirmation for life, I feel. Because if we are not willing to change and grow and learn, there can be no improvement. Learning should be an ongoing process in life, especially book reading, I feel. That's something you must give to yourself every single day. There's such an important set of information that comes out. And of course, self-help books or anything which is inspirational really helps us to move. Whatever genre of reading you like. So just go for it. Let's read the heart thought. You are willing to learn new things because you do not know at all. You are willing to drop old concepts when they no longer work for you. You are willing to see a behavior and say, I don't want to do that anymore. You can become more of who you are, not become a better person. That would imply that you're not good enough, which isn't true, but more of you who you really are. Growing and changing is exciting, even if you have to look at some painful things that are there within you. It's okay. It's absolutely all right. So some kind of I worked with people, they've been abused physically. I worked with people, they've been abused mentally. So even that tends to come out, and that's okay. So some people say सब जो दबा हुआ था सब बाहर आ गया तो और खराब हो गया. नहीं, it only feels कि कुछ टाइम के लिए खराब हुआ है, बाद में you start healing so much more. So please embrace this time. In case you've had a bad childhood also, even then embrace it, because if the pain comes out, it means all the hidden pain is coming out, and now you're relief, you're like that glass which is now pretty much empty, and now you can put in all the positivity, all the affirmations, all the dreams. So thank you so much for reading, Karishma. We'll move on to the second book. Meditation, of course, will be part of our meditation. So I just saw very few people writing yes, drew. So I hope all of you drew. And if you didn't, please do today. And please remind me someone. At least I can share my thing. Maybe that's an inspiration. If you haven't even done it yesterday, at least do it today. Very important to draw. Very important to do therapy. Even though it feels funny, it's very, very important to draw. All right. So let's move on to the power of subconscious mind and Sanjay sir, and we will read about it. Today is a beautiful chapter. It's all about marriage. So people who are not married, it's all right. People who are like people like Yuvi and little kids, Miss Shah is sitting with us today. So of course, little children aren't. So it's very important to learn this as well. It's part of our growing up. You were very emotional. Thank you, Bharat Bhai, for saying that. So yes, today is Tuesday. Did I not say that? Oh, today is Tuesday. Can you do the artist way? All right, let's start. I've kind of missed the bus. Yeah. All right. Sanjay, sir, let's have the artist way. Thank you so much, Shivani, for pointing out. I had opened up my subconscious mind. Thank you. So, not my subconscious mind, the book subconscious mind. Sanjay, sir, let's have the artist way. Thank you, Sanjay, for remembering. Sanjay, sir knew it. All right. So today is week 2. It's an absolutely beautiful week. This week addresses self definition as a major component of creative recovery. You may find yourself drawing new boundaries and staking out your new territories as your personal needs, desires, and interests announce themselves. So, now what's going to happen today is your own desires, your own interests, they all start stumbling on their own without even you realizing, because you have done the morning pages. So subconsciously, you've opened up layer by layer by layer by layer, and now things will start coming on their own. The essays and tools are aimed at moving you into your personal identity, a self defined you. So even if you're a very, very, a boisterous person, somebody who's really an extrovert, that, oh, sab kuch khula hua, everything like an open book, yet there's so much inside you which just keeps coming out in that aimless writing of yours. So let's read our journey, recovering a sense of identity, going sane. Over to you, Karishma.
Trusting our creativity is new behavior for many of us. It may feel quite threatening initially, not only to us, but also to our intimates. We may feel and look erratic. This erraticism is a normal part of getting unstuck. pulling free from the muck that has blocked us. It is important to remember that at first flush, going sane feels like going crazy. There is a recognizable ebb and flow to the process of recovering our creative selves. As we gain strength, so will some of the attacks of self doubt. This is normal, and we can deal with these stronger attacks when we see them as symptoms of recovery. Common self attacks are okay, so I did okay this week, but it's just a temporary thing. Okay, so I got the morning pages done. I probably did them wrong. Okay, so now I need to plan something big and do it right away. Who am I kidding? I'll never recover. Not right away, not ever. These attacks are groundless, but very convincing to ourselves. Buying into them enables us to remain stuck and victimized. Just as a recovering alcoholic must avoid the first drink, the recovering artist must avoid taking the first think. For us, that think is really self doubt. I don't think this is any good. These attacks can come from either internal or external sources. We can neutralize them once we recognize them as a sort of creative virus. Affirmations are a powerful antidote for self hate, which commonly appears under the mask of self doubt. Early in a creative recovery, self doubt can lure us into self sabotage. A common form for this sabotage is showing someone a morning pages. Remember, the morning pages are private and are not intended for the scrutiny of well meaning friends. One newly unblocked writer showed his morning pages to a writer friend who was still blocked. When she critiqued them, he blocked again. Do not let your self doubt turn into self sabotage.
So very, very important. I said this in the beginning. Morning pages are our window. We don't have to read them ourselves. So, if you start reading them yourself, again, you've done damage. Just scribble them aimlessly, whatever comes to your mind, let it come out. Initially, you were blocked, so you said, I don't know what to write. And that's also okay. So wrote anything and everything. Gradually, you're unfolding, gradually, you're unblocking. So now things will start getting out. Don't read them yourself. Don't make other people read them. You don't want that to happen. You are now people in progress. So Doris Lessing says, all sanity depends on this, that it should be a delight to feel heat strike the skin, a delight to stand upright, knowing the bones are moving easily under the flesh. Jody Hayes says, snipers are people who undermine your efforts to break unhealthy relationship patterns. So we do not have to break this, relationship with ourselves now. So please, no more self-sabotage, no more self-doubt. Just write on the single paper every single day, one page minimum in your abhivyakti, and then whatever comes to your mind. Let's talk about poisonous playmates.
Creativity flourishes when we have a sense of safety and self acceptance. Your artist, like a small child, is happiest when feeling a sense of security. As an artist's protective parent, we must learn to place our artist with safe companions. Toxic playmates can capsize our artist's growth. Not surprisingly, the most poisonous playmates for us as recovering creatives are people whose creativity is still blocked. Our recovery threatens them. As long as we are blocked, we often felt that it was arrogance and self will to speak of ourselves as creative artists. The truth is that it was self will to refuse to acknowledge our creativity. Of course, this refusal had its payoffs. We could wonder and worry about our arrogance instead of being humble enough to ask help to move through our fear. We could fantasize about art instead of doing the work. By not asking the great creators' help with our creativity, and by not seeing the great creators' hand in our creativity, we could proceed to righteously ignore our creativity and never have to take the risks of fulfilling it. Your blocked friends may still be indulging in all these comforting self delusions. If they are having trouble with your recovery, they are still getting a payoff from remaining blocked. Perhaps they still get an anorectic high from the martyrdom of being blocked, or they still collect sympathy and wallow in self pity. Perhaps they still feel smug, thinking about how much more creative they could be than those who are out there doing it. These are toxic behaviors for you now. Do not expect your block friends to applaud your recovery. That's like expecting your best friends from the bar to celebrate your sobriety. How can they when their own drinking is something they want to hold on to?
Also, understand something with blocked friends, poisonous playmates. If you tell them, oh, I'm going for these beautiful classes every morning at 5. Are you mad? 5 बजे भी कोई उठता है पढ़ने के लिए? मतलब, hello, so life में मजा करो. You can't wake up at 5. What an ungodly hour. And you say, I've changed. I'm so much more positive now. Temporary, yes, आप पढ़ रहे हो. Only for जब तक पढ़ रहे हो तब तक है. उसके बाद you'll come back to your rut. These people are critics. They all love to talk negative. They are blocked people. So please, if you know of such people, do not share your triumphs with them because they'll be meaningless. In fact, you will not feel great about sharing with them because they're not your champions. So please be a little wary. Hang out with them, but there's no need to talk to them because that's not going to work. Let's read further about them.
Blocked friends may find your recovery disturbing. Your getting unblocked raises the unsettling possibility that they too could become unblocked and move into authentic creative rather risks rather than bench sitting cynicism. Be alert to subtle sabotage from friends. You cannot afford their well meaning doubts right now. Their doubts will reactivate your own. Be particularly alert to any suggestion that you have become selfish or different. These are red alert words for you. They are attempts to leverage us back into our old ways for the sake of someone else's comfort, not our own. Blocked creatives are easily manipulated by guilt. Our friends, feeling abandoned by our departure from the ranks of the blocked, may unconsciously try to guilt trip us into giving up our newly healthy habits. It is very important to understand that the time given to morning pages is the time between you and God. You best know your answers. You will be led to new sources of support as you begin to support yourself. Be very careful to safeguard your newly recovering artist. Often, creativity is blocked by a falling in with other people's plans for us. We want to set aside time for our creative work, but we feel we should do something else instead. As blocked creatives, we focus not on our own responsibilities to ourselves, but on our responsibilities to others. We tend to think such behavior makes us good people. It doesn't. It makes us frustrated people. The essential element in nurturing our creativity lies in nurturing ourselves. Through self nurturance, we nurture our inner connection to the great creator. Through this connection, our creativity will unfold. Paths will appear for us. We need to trust the great creator and move out in faith. Repeat, the great creator has gifted us with creativity. Our gift back is our use of it. Do not let friends squander your time. Be gentle but firm and hang tough. The best thing you can do for your friends is to be an example through your own recovery. Do not let their fears and second thoughts derail you. Soon enough, the techniques you learn will enable you to teach others. Soon enough, you will be a bridge that will allow others to cross over from self doubt into self expression. For right now, protect your artist by refusing to show your morning pages to interested bystanders or to share your artist date with friends. Draw a sacred circle around your recovery. Give yourself the gift of faith. Trust that you are on the right track. You are. As your recovery progresses, you will come to experience a more comfortable faith in your Creator and your Creator within. You will learn that it is actually easier to write than not write, paint than not paint, and so forth. You will learn to enjoy the process of being a creative channel and to surrender your need to control the result. You will discover the joy of practicing your creativity. The process, not the product, will become your focus. Your own healing is the greatest message of hope for others.
So again, very important that to understand that we all are creative people. And now going on that artist date, I hope you've gone on an artist date. It didn't have to be long. It could be 2, 3 hours also, or even 1 hour also. Doing something that you love, which is not like a burden, which is something that's extension of you. That could be anything that you like. So I didn't have time this entire week for an artist date. But yesterday, just out of my need, I had to go on an artist date, and I loved it. Playing with flowers, getting something done. So yesterday I wanted to go to a florist called Casa Fleur, New Friends, but I love to get my flowers done. They're beautiful, they're gorgeous flowers. Unfortunately, it was locked. So then I went to the one next door, and now they didn't even have an idea on how I wanted the flowers. Very beautifully, I made the bunch of flowers myself for my sister, and it was beautiful. It was like a therapy. So I was like, okay, give me your stuff, give me your tools, I'll create what I want. So creating that bar, that entire set was beautiful. It was therapy. So, my husband saying, you just came from factory so late and you just immediately went to drop the stuff at Munshi's place. The driver could have gone. I said, no, I had to go and drop because I wanted to get and play with the flowers. So even it was just a mere 2 hour journey, I loved it. So just get one thing very clear. It's very important to go on these dates. It's very important to write the morning pages. Without that, you and I can't unleash ourselves. Let's talk about the crazy makers.
A related thing creatives do to avoid being creative is to involve themselves with crazy makers. Crazy makers are those personalities that create storm centers. They often they are often charismatic, frequently charming, highly inventive, and powerfully persuasive. And for the creative person in their vicinity, they are enormously destructive. You know the type: charismatic but out of control, long on problems and short on solutions. Crazy makers are the kind of people who can take over your whole life. To fixer uppers, they are irresistible. So much to change, so many distractions. If you are involved with a crazy maker, you probably know it already, and you certainly recognize the thumbnail description in the paragraph above. Crazy makers like drama. If they can swing it, they are the star. Everyone around them functions as supporting cast, picking up their cues, their entrances and exits from the crazy maker's crazy whims. Some of the most profoundly destructive crazy makers I have ever encountered are themselves famous artists. They are the kind of artists that give the rest of us bad names. Often larger than life, they acquire that status by feeding on the life energies of those around them. For this reason, many of the most crazy artists in America are found surrounded by a cadre of supporters as talented as they are, but determined to subvert their own talent in the service of the crazy making king. I am thinking of a movie set I visited several years ago. The filmmaker was one of the giants of American cinema. His stature was unmistakable, and so was his identity as a crazy maker. Given that all filmmaking is demanding, his sets are far more so. Longer hours, long bouts of paranoia, intrigue, and internecine politics. Amid rumors that the set was bugged, this crazy maker king addressed his actors over a loudspeaker system while he, like the Wizard of Oz, secreted himself away in a large and luxuriously equipped trailer cave. Over the past 2 decades, I have watched many directors at work. I was married to a profoundly gifted director, and I have directed a feature myself. I have often remarked how closely a film crew resembles an extended family. In the case of this crazy maker king, the crew resembled nothing so much as an alcoholic family. The alcoholic drinker, thinker, was surrounded by his tiptoeing enablers, all pretending that his outsized ego and its concomitant demands were normal. On the Crazy Maker's set, the production lurched off schedule and over budget from King Baby's unreasonable demands. A film crew is essentially a crew of experts, and to watch these estimable experts become disheartened was a strong lesson for me in the poisonous power of crazy making. Brilliant set designers, costume designers, sound engineers, not to mention actors, became increasingly injured as the production ran its devastating course. It was against the crazy making director's personal dramas that they struggled to create the drama that was meant to go on screen. Like all good movie people, this crew was willing to work long hours for good work. What discouraged them was working those hours in the service of ego instead of art. The crazy making dynamic is grounded in power, and so any group of people can function as an energy system to be exploited and drained. Crazy makers can be found in almost any setting, in almost any art form. Fame may help to create them, but since they feed on power, any power source will do. Although quite frequently crazy makers are found among the rich and famous, they are common even among commoners. Right in the nuclear family, there's a reason we use that word. A resident crazy maker may often be found pitting family members against family member, undercutting anyone's agenda but his or her own. I am thinking now of a destructive matriarch of my acquaintance, the titular head of a large and talented clan. She has devoted her extensive energies to destroying the creativity of her children, always choosing critical moments for her sabotage. She plants her bombs to explode just as her children approach success. The daughter, struggling to find a belated college degree, finds herself saddled with a sudden drama the night before her final exam. The son, with a critical job interview, is gifted with a visitation just when he needs to focus the most. Do you know what the neighbors are saying about you? The crazy maker will often ask, and the beleaguered student mother will hear a horrific round of gossip that leaves her battered, facing her exam week beset by feelings of what's the use? Do you realize you're ruining your own marriage with this possible new job? And the son's hopeful career move is ashes before it begins. Whether they appear as your overbearing mother, your manic boss, your needy friend, or your stubborn spouse, the crazy maker in your life shares certain destructive patterns that make them poisonous for any sustained creative work.
So I just understand the concept. You're reading another 2 pages of Crazy Makers. Think who they are. Stay a little far away. Now that you'll know that they're crazy makers, just stay a little far because they are not the ideal place for you to grow in. Let's talk about them a little more.
Crazy makers break deals and destroy schedules. They show up 2 days early for your wedding and expect to be waited on hand and foot. They rent a vacation cabin larger and more expensive than the one agreed upon, and then they expect you to foot the bill. Crazy makers expect special treatment. They suffer a wide panoply of mysterious ailments that require care and attention whenever you have a deadline looming, or anything else that draws your attention from the crazy maker's demands. The crazy maker cooks her own special meal in a house full of hungry children and does nothing to feed the kids. The crazy maker is too upset to drive right after he has vented enormous verbal abuse on the heads of those around him. I am afraid daddy will have a heart attack. The victim starts thinking instead of, how do I get this monster out of my house? Crazy makers discount your reality, no matter how important your deadline or how critical your work trajectory at the moment. Crazy makers will violate your needs. They may act as though they hear your boundaries and will respect them, but in practice, act is the operative word. Crazy makers are the people who call you at midnight or 6 a.m. saying, I know you asked me not to call you at this time, but crazy makers are the people who drop by unexpectedly to borrow something you can't find or don't want to lend them. Even better, they call and ask you to locate something they need, then fail to pick it up. I know you're on a deadline, they say, but this will only take a minute. Your minute. Crazy makers spend your time and money. If they borrow your car, they return it late with an empty tank. They travel, their travel arrangements always cost you time or money. They demand to be met in the middle of your workday at an airport miles from town. I didn't bring taxi money, they say when confronted with, but I'm working. Crazy makers triangulate those they deal with. Because crazy makers thrive on energy, your energy, They set people against one another in order to maintain their own power position dead center. That's why they can feed most directly on the negative energies they stir up. So and so was telling me you didn't get to work on time today. A crazy maker may relay. You obligingly get mad at so and so and miss the fact that the crazy maker has used hearsay to set you off kilter emotionally. Crazy makers are expert blamers. Nothing that goes wrong is ever their fault, and to hear them tell it, the fault is usually yours. If you hadn't cashed that child support check, it would never have bounced. One crazy making ex husband told his struggling for serenity former spouse. Crazy makers create dramas, but seldom where they belong. Crazy makers are often blocked creatives themselves, afraid to effectively tap their own creativity. They are loath to allow that same creativity in others. It makes them jealous. It makes them threatened. It makes them dramatic at your expense. Devoted to their own agendas, crazy makers impose these agendas on others. In dealing with a crazy maker, you are dealing always with the famous issue of figure and ground. In other words, whatever matters to you becomes trivialized into mere backdrop for the crazy maker's personal plight. Do you think she loves me? They call you to ask when you are trying to pass the bar exam or get your husband home from the hospital. Crazy makers hate schedules except their own. In the hands of a crazy maker, time is a primary tool for abuse. If you claim a certain block of time as your own, your crazy maker will find a way to fight you for that time, to mysteriously need things, meaning you, just when you need to be alone and focused on the task at hand. I stayed up until 3 last night. I can't drive the kids to school. The crazy maker will spring on you the morning you yourself must leave early for a business breakfast with your boss. Crazy makers hate order. Chaos serves their purposes. When you begin to establish a place that serves you and your creativity, your crazy maker will abruptly invade that space with projects of her own. What are all these papers, all this laundry on the top of my work table, you ask? I decided to sort my college papers, to start looking for the matches for my socks. Crazy makers deny that they are crazy makers. They go for the jugular. I am not what's making you crazy, your crazy maker may say when you point out a broken promise or a piece of sabotage. It's just that we have such a rotten sex life. If crazy makers are that destructive, what are we doing involved with them? The answer, to be brief but brutal, is that we're that crazy ourselves and we are that self destructive. Really? Yes. As blocked creatives, we are willing to go to almost any lengths to remain blocked. As frightening and abusive as life with a crazy maker is, we find it far less threatening than the challenge of a creative life of our own. What would happen then? What would we be like? Very often, we fear that if we let ourselves be creative, we will become crazy makers ourselves and abuse those around us. Using this fear as an excuse, we continue to allow others to abuse us. If you are involved now with a crazy maker, it is very important that you admit this fact. Admit that you are being used and admit that you are using your own abuser. Your crazy maker is a block you chose yourself to deter you from your own trajectory. As much as you are being exploited by your crazy maker, you too are using that person to block your creative flow. If you are involved in a tortured tango with a crazy maker, stop dancing to her tune. Pick up a book on codependency or get yourself to a 12-step program for relationship addiction. Al Anon and Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous are two excellent programs for stopping the crazy maker's dance. The next time you catch yourself saying or thinking, she is driving me crazy, ask yourself, what creative work are you what creative work you are trying to block by your involvement?
I'm not sure how many of you have got these crazy makers in your life, and if you do not understand who they are, then just flow with it. You don't have to again box people into being crazy makers. If you understand someone just by the sake of just by reading it, it's great. If you haven't, even then it's great, because you don't want to become again judgmental. Remember, mentality has to be so beautiful from now on, that everything is fine the way they are. So even crazy makers in your life will not deter you too much if you start flowing with your life. Just slow down and just understand that life is to be enjoyed. So Eddie Cantor says in this regard, slow down and enjoy life. It's not only the scenery you miss by going too fast, you also miss the scene of where you are going and why. So understand very clearly. You're just going on a purpose of finding your unique purpose, of just enjoying your life. You're unfolding every day with Louis Hayes' mirror work. Now, with Artist's Way, you're understanding some patterns. Just read it as a flow. Don't go too deeper down. Now, let's talk about skepticism.
Now that we have talked about the barrier to recovery others can present, let us take a look at the inner enemy we harbor ourselves. Perhaps the greatest barrier for any of us as we look for an expanded life is our own deeply held skepticism. This might be called the secret doubt. It does not seem to matter whether we are officially believers or agnostics. We have our doubts about all of this creator creativity stuff, and those doubts are very powerful. Unless we air them, they can sabotage us. Many times, in trying to be good sports, we stuff our feelings of doubt. We need to stop doing that and explore them instead. Boiled down to their essentials, the doubts go something like this. Okay, so I started writing the morning pages and I seem more awake and alert in my life. So what? It's just a coincidence. Okay, I have started filling the well and taking my artist on a date, and I do notice I'm cheering up a little. So what? It's just coincidental. Okay, so now I am beginning to notice that the more I let myself explore the possibility of there being some power for good, the more I notice lucky coincidence turning up in my life. So what? I can't believe I am really being led. That's just too weird. The reason we think it's weird to imagine an unseen helping hand is that we still doubt that it's okay for us to be creative. With this attitude firmly entrenched, we not only look at gift horses in the mouth, but also swat them on the rump to get them out of our lives as fast as possible. When Mike began his creative recovery, he let himself admit that he wanted to make films. 2 weeks later, through a series of coincidences, he found himself in film school with his company paying for it. Did he relax and enjoy this? No. He told himself that film school was distracting him from his real job of finding another job, and so he gave up filmmaking to look for another job. 2 years later, remembering this incident, Mike can shake his head at himself. When the universe gave him what he wanted, he gave the gift right back. Eventually, he did let himself learn filmmaking, but he made it a lot harder on himself than the universe may have intended. One of the things most worth noting in a creative recovery is a reluctance to take seriously the possibility that the universe just might be cooperating with our new and expanded plans. We've gotten brave enough to try recovery, but we don't want the universe to really pay attention. We still feel too much like frauds to handle some success. When it comes, we want to go. Of course, we do. Any little bit of experimenting in self nurturance is very frightening for most of us. When our little experiment provokes the universe to open a door or two, we start shying away. Hey, you, whatever you are, not so fast.
So
I
wait a
like to.
minute, just wait a minute, Sharishma. So you're so skeptical in life, or you're all the time procrastinating. We're all the time wondering. We're all the time doubting. Why? Because that's our inherent nature. Now you're writing. Now so you're doing magic book, and you're like, अरे सब कुछ जाता है thank you बोलने से, just coincidence. Then you're like, okay, I'm writing my morning pages, I think I'm much lighter. Oh, just coincidence. You're not ready to acknowledge that you are changing as a person. Now you're not ready to acknowledge the fact that I'm open match to the universe, and whatever I ask I'm given. And sometimes you're like, अच्छा अभी मैंने बोला अभी नहीं. So you're closing the doors for yourself. Remember, we're people in progress and the world is a giver. So, what is a room for doubt and scope for even thinking of anything. What's the reason to be skeptical for? But that's how we all are. So let's understand a bit more about this.
I like to think of the mind as a room. In that room, we keep all of our usual ideas about life, God, what's possible and what's not. The room has a door. That door is ever so slightly ajar, and outside we can see a great deal of dazzling light. Out there in the dazzling light are a lot of new ideas that we consider too far out for us, and so we keep them out there. The ideas we are comfortable with are in the room with us. The other ideas are out and we keep them out. In our ordinary pre recovery life, when we would hear something weird or threatening, we just grab the doorknob and pull the door shut fast. In a work triggering outer change, ridiculous. Slam the door. God bothering to help my own creative recovery? Slam. Synchronicity supporting my artist with serendipitous coincidences? Slam, slam, slam. Now that we are in creative recovery, there is another approach we need to try. To do this, we gently set aside our skepticism for later use, if we need it. And when a weird idea or coincidence whizzes by, we gently nudge the door a little further open. Setting skepticism aside, even briefly, can make for very interesting explorations. In creative recovery, it is not necessary that we change any of our beliefs. It is necessary that we examine them. More than anything else, creative recovery is an exercise in open mindedness. Again, picture your mind as that room with the door slightly ajar. Nudging the door open a bit more is what makes for open mindedness. Begin this week to consciously practice opening your mind.
Now, all you have to do is get over procrastination, get over doubt, get over skepticism. Just simply start paying attention just to the fact that you are growing as a person and whatever's happening is for your highest good. Stop thinking you were coincidences. Stop it. Pay attention now. Let's read it.
Very often, a creative block manifests itself as an addiction to fantasy. Rather than working or living the now, we spin our wheels and indulge in daydreams of could have, would have, should have. One of the great misconceptions about the artistic life is that it entails great swaths of aimlessness. The truth is that a creative life involves great swaths of attention. Attention is a way to connect and survive. Flora and Fauna reports. I used to call the long winding letters from my grandmother. The forsythia is starting, and this morning I saw my first robin. The roses are holding even in this heat. The sumac has turned, and that little maple down by the mailbox. My Christmas cactus is getting ready. I followed my grandmother's life like a long home movie, a shot of this and a shot of that, spliced together with no pattern that I could ever see. Dad's cough is getting worse. The little Shetland looks like she'll drop her foal early. Joanne is back in the hospital at Anna. We named the new boxer Trixie, and she likes to sleep in my cactus bed. Can you imagine? I could imagine. Her letters made that easy. Life through Grandma's eyes was a series of small miracles. The wild tiger lilies under the cottonwoods in June, the quick lizard scooting under the grey river rock she admired for its satiny finish. Her letters clocked the seasons of the year and her life. She lived until she was 80, and the letters came until the very end. When she died, it was as sudden as a Christmas cactus. Here today, gone tomorrow. She left behind her letters and a husband of 62 years. Her husband, my grandfather, Daddy Howard, an elegant rascal with a gambler's smile and a loser's luck, had made and lost several fortunes, and last of them permanently. He drank them away, gambled them away, tossed them away the way she threw crumbs to her birds. He squandered life's big chances the way she savored the small ones. That man, my mother would say. My grandmother lived with that man in tiled Spanish houses, in trailers, in a tiny cabin halfway up in a mountain, in a railroad road flat, and finally in a house made out of tiki-taki where they all looked just the same. I don't know how she stands it. my mother would say, furious with my grandfather for some new misadventure. She meant she didn't know why. The truth is, we all knew how she stood it. She stood it by standing knee deep in the flow of life and paying close attention. My grandmother was gone before I learned the lesson her letters were teaching. Survival lies in sanity, and sanity lies in paying attention. Yes, her letter said, Dad's cough is getting worse. We have lost the house. There is no money and no work. But the tiger lilies are blooming. The lizard has found that spot of sun. The roses are holding despite the heat. My grandmother knew what a painful life had taught her, success or failure. The truth of a life really had little to do with its quality. The quality of life is in proportion, always, to the capacity for delight. The capacity for delight is the gift of paying attention. In a year, when a long and rewarding love affair was lurching gracelessly away from the center of her life, the writer May Sarton kept a journal of her solitude. In it, she records coming home from a particularly painful weekend with her lover. Entering her empty house, I was stopped by the threshold of my study by a ray on a Korean chrysanthemum, lighting it up like a spotlight, deep red petals and Chinese yellow center. Seeing it was like getting a transfusion of autumn light. It's no accident that May Sarton uses the word transfusion. The loss of a lover was a wound, and in her responses to that chrysanthemum, in the act of paying attention, Sarton's healing began. The reward for attention is always healing. It may begin as the healing of a particular pain, the lost lover, the sickly child, the shattered dream. But what is healed, finally, is the pain that underlies all pain. The pain that we are all, as Rill phrases it, unutterably, unutterably alone. More than anything else, attention is an act of connection. I learned this the way I have learned most things, quite by accident. When
One
my first marriage blew
second.
apart,
Right.
sorry,
So these two stories we've read about are very simple. Things are going completely adverse, completely. But what is happening? The grandmother or the author is not harping on the fact of negativity. Where is the attention going? So she says everything's going wrong, but the lilies are blossoming. Here, the other person is saying, yeah, everything is going wrong, but she is not concentrating on being alone. So when you're working on your connection within your deeper self, that I can be happy no matter what, that is a time when you're growing. So pay attention to happiness. Don't block yourself. You can manifest whatever you do, even if you are in the most adverse situations. Learn to have a interest for your life. So it's very important for you and me to evolve. Henry Miller says, develop interests in life as you as you see it. In people, things, literature, music, the world is so rich, simply throbbing with rich treasures, beautiful souls, and interesting people. Forget yourself. So if you're going to keep harping on your problems, only they will expand. Start look, even if you're in a very bad situation, look for treasures. Yeah, there's so many around you. Work on them and live a life of magnificence. Yes, let's read another story about attention.
when my first marriage blew apart, I took a lonely house in the Hollywood Hills. My plan was simple. I would weather my loss alone. I would see no one, and no one would see me, until the worst of the pain was over. I would take long solitary walks, and I would suffer. As it happened, I did take those walks, but they did not go as planned. Two curves up the road behind my house, I met a gray striped cat. This cat lived in a vivid blue house with a large sheepdog she clearly disliked. I learned all this despite myself in a week's walking. We began to have little visits, that cat and I, and then long talks of all we had in common, lonely women. Both of us admired an extravagant salmon rose that had wandered across a neighboring fence. Both of us liked watching the lavender float of jacaranda blossoms as they shook loose from their moorings. Alice, I heard her called inside one afternoon, would bat at them with her paw. By the time the jacarandas were gone, An unattractive slated fence had been added to contain the rose garden. By then, I had extended my walks a mile farther up and added to my fellowship other cats, dogs, and children. By the time the salmon rose disappeared behind its fence, I had found a house higher up with a walled Moorish garden and a vitriolic parrot I grew fond of. Colorful, opinionated, highly dramatic, he reminded me of my ex husband. Pain had become something more valuable. Experience. Writing about attention, I see that I have written a good deal about pain. This is no coincidence. It may be different for others, but pain is what it took to teach me to pay attention. In times of pain, when the future is too terrifying to contemplate and the past too painful to remember, I have learned to pay attention to right now. The precise moment I was in was always the only safe place for me. Each moment, taken alone, was always bearable. In the exact now, we are all, always, all right. Yesterday the marriage may have ended. Tomorrow the cat may die. The phone call from the lover, for all my waiting, may never ever come, may not ever come. But just at the moment, just now, that's all right. I am breathing in and out. Realizing this, I began to notice that each moment was not without its beauty.
One
The night.
quick. So, do we all realize that now is very beautiful? There's absolutely no problem in the now. We as human beings are only living either in the past or the future. Very few of us are present. Even right now, a lot of you have wandering minds. I don't know where they are, but you know exactly. Because you're not able to be in the present. You're thinking about other things. So you pop up with things, you pop up suggestions because you're not in the book reading. So start being now, present now. Now is beautiful. What are we saying? Each moment taken alone was always bearable. In the exact now, we are always, always perfect. We are always all right. So even if you're all right, imagine how wonderful it is. So please start paying attention in the now. Don't start being in the past or the future. Be in the now. It's another story.
The night my mother died, I got the call, took my sweater, and set out up the hill behind my house. A great snowy moon was rising behind the palm trees. Later that night, it floated above the garden, washing the cactus silver. When I think now about my mother's death, I remember that snowy moon. The poet William Meredith has observed that the worst that can be said of a man is that he did not pay attention. When I think of my grandmother, I remember her gardening, one small brown breast slipping unexpectedly free from the halter top of the little print dress she made for herself each summer. I remember her pointing down the steep slope from the home she was about to lose to the cottonwoods in the wash below. The ponies like them for their shade, she said. I like them because they go all silvery in their green.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Karishma. You read beautifully, one story after another. Today's our chapter has taken us from skepticism. It's making us go into attention. It's making us understand to be in the power of now. Now let's understand the rules of the road. In order to be an artist, I must show up at the page. Use the page to rest, to dream, to try. So the artist page that we write every morning, the morning page, let's understand what's happening in our life now. Number two, fill the well by caring for my artist. So now you're an artist and you're just taking up all the negativity through morning pages, and now you're ready to fill the well by caring for the artist in you. Now is a time to set small and gentle goals and meet them. So just now, let's start evolving smaller little goals. Okay, today I will do my 10 push-ups, or today I will do my 5 minutes of some bending or stretching or whatever. Small goals. Everything is a goal. Everything is art. Whether it's cooking, whether it's baking, whether it's showering, whether it's talking, whether it's reading or exercising, everything is an art. Now is a time to go deeper and pray for guidance, courage, and humility. These are the three important virtues we should always be praying for. The minute you're guided, everything happens beautifully. The minute you have courage to do anything in the world, is great. The minute you're humble, the world is a stage. Remember that it is far harder and more painful to be a blocked artist than it is to do the work. So when we are blocked inside us, weight will be there inside us. When we are blocked, frustration will be inside us, tension will be inside us. So please remember the morning pages are all about opening. The minute you start opening, you'll start blossoming. Be alert always for the presence of the greatest creator leading and helping my artist. Just know one thing. Even अगर आपने manifest नहीं किया है, your life is going normal. The great creator is leading you. He is there for you. Choose companions who encourage me to do the work and not just talk about doing the work or why I'm not doing the work. So people who are saying ये नहीं किया, वो नहीं किया, नहीं. आपने किया, even if you're the catalyst and boosters or your Sangha Mitras, please keep motivating people. I did my work. It was beautiful. Rather than saying, you did not fill the assignment, you did not do it. Don't say that. Just start encouraging people. Encouragement is a beautiful thing that you can do for anyone. Remember that this is my job to do the work, not judge the work. So if you're doing something, how wonderful the result is not your concern. You have done it, that's the most important. Place the sign in my workplace. Great creator, I will take care of the quantity. You take care of the quality. So if you just, that's what they say now, single step makes a big difference. Do not worry about the bigger picture. Just start on the journey. The bigger picture will start to automatically create. Today, if you write 10 blessings a day, in the end of 1 to 1 days, you've written 1,210 blessings. That's huge, like a full journal almost by itself. By just starting a page a day, your life is going to be miraculous. 12 weeks of it, and you will realize the importance of these beautiful 12 weeks. Let's turn the page, sir. So, today, what do we have to do? Our tasks. Affirmative reading every day, morning and night. Get quiet and focused and read the basic principles to yourself. See page 3. So, you all have a flyer, right, which we circulated. Just go through it because they are just basic principles. Be alert for any attitudinal shifts. Can you see yourself setting aside any skepticism yet? So if you have any shift, even slightest, of course, all of you have shifts. I know about that because of other books as well. So when artist way is coming to us, it's coming with the thing that we are raw. So of course, our affirmations is making us shift. Great. Number 2, where does your time go? List your 5 major activities this week. How much time did you give each one? Where were that you wanted to do, which were shoulds? How much of your time is spent helping others and ignoring your own desires? Have any of your blocked friends triggered doubts in you? So it's very important to even have time for yourself. If you're helping others, are you giving time to yourself? It happened with me. In the thing of coaching in the morning and evening, I was not being able to give time for myself. So you have to analyze it. If something is going wrong, what is the step can you take for it? Now, what do? Take a sheet of paper, draw a circle. Inside that circle, place topics you need to protect. Place the names of those you find to be supportive. Outside the circle, place the names of those you must be self protective around just now. Place the safety map near where you write your morning pages. Use this map to support your autonomy. Add names to the inner and outer spheres as appropriate. Oh, Derek, is somebody I shouldn't talk to about this right now? This is going to be your own introspection, your reflection of your world. What rocks your world, what shakes your world, what makes your world is something only you will know. Today, please do the exercise. This will come as part of your assignment as well. It's very important to keep this handy. So if you have a pin-up board or something, just go for it. So like for example, now say third point, start listing 20 things you enjoy doing: rock climbing, roller skating, baking pies, making soup, making love again, riding a bike, riding a horse, playing catch, shooting baskets, going for a run, reading poetry, and so forth. When was the last time you let some things, you do things that you really like? Next to each entry, place a date. Don't be surprised if it's been years for some of your favorites. This will change. This list is an excellent resource for artist date. So Bharat bhai and everyone, आज जो करना है बहुत सिंपल है. एक पेपर लेना है, आपकी 5 एक्टिविटीज जो मैक्सिमम टाइम लेती हैं आपके हफ्ते में उनको लिखना है. आपने किस में क्या किया, आपको क्या करना चाहिए था और आपने क्या किया. You have to analyze them that very clearly. Where you have been doing. अपने blocked friends के बारे से बहुत बात तो नहीं करी. आपको एक शीट पर पेपर लिखना है, उसमें ड्रॉ करना है एक सर्कल, बड़ा सा सर्कल बना लीजिए। उसके अंदर वो लिखिए जिसको आपको बचाना है या ग्रो करना है। बाहर वो उसमें ये भी लिखें कि कौन सपोर्ट करता है वो सब चीज़ें करने में आपके साथ। बाहर लिखें नाम उन लोग का जो आपको सपोर्ट नहीं करते या जो आपको थोड़ा-सा डाउन करते हैं। बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है आपको सो दैट आप अपने लिए ग्रो करें। आपको एक मैप बनाना है अपने लिए, उसमें अब नेक्स्ट जो अगला चीज़ करनी है, 20 चीज़ें लिखनी है अपने बारे में जो आपको बहुत पसंद है करना और आपने शायद बहुत दिनों से नहीं करी। सामने लिखनी है डेट्स जो आपने लास्ट कब करी होगी, वो चीज़ जो आपको बहुत पसंद है। क्या पता आपने बहुत पहले करी होगी। इससे आपको अपना इनर वर्ल्ड का रिफ्लेक्शंस मिल रही हैं, वेरी इंपोर्टेंट स्टार्ट ग्रोइंग। अब आप इस लिस्ट को देखते हैं तो आपको क्या करना है, 2 फेवरेट थिंग्स लिखनी है जो आपको जो आपने अवॉइड करी हैं अभी तक, whichever you've avoided in your weekly goals. These goals can be small. Buy one roll of film and shoot it. Remember, we're trying to win yourself some autonomy with your time. Look for windows of time just for you. Use them in small creative acts. Get to the record store at lunch hour, even if it only needs 15 minutes. Stop looking for big blocks of time when you will be free. Find small bits of time instead. Dip back into week one and read the affirmations. Note which ones cause the most reaction. Often the one that sounds the most ridiculous is the most significant. Write down 3 affirmations, chosen affirmations 5 times each day in your morning pages. Be sure to include the affirmations you made yourself from your blurts. कई बार ऐसी affirmations होती हैं जिससे हमें लगता है कि ये relevant ही नहीं है. Often times वो ही relevant होती है. उसको आप minimum 5 times लिख लीजिएगा in the morning. Return to the list of imaginary lives from last week and 5 more lives. Again, check to see what are you doing these bits and pieces of those lives and the ones you're living now. If you have listed dancer's life, do let yourself go dancing. If you have listed a monk's life, are you ever allowed to go on a retreat? If you're a scuba diver, is there an aquarium shop you can visit? A day at the lake you could include. So आपने लास्ट हफ्ते एक एक्सरसाइज करी थी जहां आपने इमेजिनरी लाइव्स लिखी थी कि ये लाइव्स आप शायद जीना चाहते हैं। अगर आप वो लाइफ जीना चाहते हैं उसमें से एक क्या चीज है, क्या आप वो कर सकते हैं? कैन यू डू दैट? सो एटलीस्ट सोचना शुरू करें। स्टेप 1 आपने लिखा था क्या करना चाहते हैं। स्टेप 2 इस हफ्ते आप करना चाह रहे हैं कि क्या आप जो उसके साथ अटैच्ड है, आर यू रेडी फॉर दैट? सो उसको आप स्केड्यूल में ला सकते हैं क्या? Now, number 7, life pie. Draw a circle, divide into 6 parts. Like a pizza, usko 6 part mein आधा and then, just divide that. Label one piece spirituality. Another circle, play. Another circle, work, friends, romance, adventure. Place a dot into each slice of the degree at which you're really fulfilling in that area. आउटर रिम इज ग्रेट। सो जैसे आप एक सर्कल बनाएंगे जो अंदर होगा मतलब क्लोजेस्ट, डॉट बाहर होगा थोड़ा दूर, डॉट बाहर होगा थोड़ा दूर। एक सर्कल बनाना है, 6 पार्ट में डिवाइड करना है। फर्स्ट इज स्पिरिचुअलिटी, सेकंड इज प्ले, थर्ड इज वर्क, फोर्थ इज फ्रेंड्स, फिफ्थ इज रोमांस, सिक्स इज एडवेंचर। इसमें आप कितना कर रहे हैं वो डॉट लगानी है कि आप कितना कर पा रहे हैं। ये किसी को दिखाने की जरूरत नहीं है, आप अपने लिए करेंगे। As you begin the course, it's not uncommon for your life to look like a tarantula. As recovery progresses, your tarantula may become a mandala. Working with mandala क्या होता है? It's a work of art, right? जहाँ बहुत डिटेलिंग होती है। धीरे धीरे स्टार्ट कर रहे हैं, फिर आप बहुत अच्छी लाइफ क्रिएट कर सकते हैं। Working with this tool, you will notice that there are areas of your life that feel impoverished and on which you can which you spend little time or no time. Use the time tidbits you are finding to alter this. If your spiritual life is minimal, even a 5 minute pit stop into a synagogue or cathedral can restore a sense of wonder. Many of us find 5 minutes of drum music and put in touch with a spiritual cause. For others, it's a trip to a greenhouse. The point is that even the slightest attention to our impoverished areas can nurture them. Spirituality क्या होता है? It's all about love. So अगर आप love के क्षेत्र में हैं, you're feeling that everything is flowing in love, you can put your dot there. कितना? You need to divide it, you need to plan it. All these 6 things make your life. अब इसमें कितना हमने बैलेंस करा है, कितना नहीं करा है, वो सिर्फ हम जानते हैं. धीरे धीरे स्टार्ट इंचिंग करना है। तो आज हमें कंपेयर करना है फर्स्ट वीक में जो हमने इमेजिनरी लाइफ लिखी है, जो हम चाहते थे लिव करना, उसमें क्या चीज वो एक चीज है जो हम कर सकते हैं, क्या हम स्केड्यूल कर सकते हैं। मैं ये नहीं बोल रही आज करना है, कल परसों तरसों आफ्टर 1 मंथ इट्स ओके। स्केड्यूल किया क्या हमने, उसको एनालाइज किया क्या, फिर वो सर्कल बनाना है विद 6 थिंग डॉट लगानी है कि प्रोग्रेस बहुत ज्यादा है या बहुत कम है। 8. 10 tiny changes. List 10 things you like to make for yourself, from the significant to the small or vice versa. Get new sheets so I have another set. Go to China, paint my kitchen, dump my bitchy friend Alice. Do it this way. I would like to. आपको 10 चीजें लिखनी है that I would like to do them. As the morning pages nudge us increasingly into the present, where we pay attention to our current lives, a small shift like a newly painted bathroom can aid a luxuriously large sense of self care. सिंपल है, अगर आपने मॉर्निंग पेजेस लिख रहे हैं शिद्दत से, तो आप धीरे धीरे अपनी लाइफ में आना आएंगे, आपके अंदर के दरवाजे खुलेंगे, खिड़कियां खुलेंगी, यूल बी एबल टू ग्रास्प लाइफ। धीरे धीरे चेंजेस आएंगे। आपको लग रहा होगा कि बहुत इरेलीवेंट चीजें हैं, 10 चेंज करना है, क्या इमेजिनरी लाइफ में करना है, मेरी लाइफ से कुछ कंसर्न नहीं है, ये तो मुझे हटा के कहीं और लेकर जा रही है। दिस इज पार्ट ऑफ थेरेपी एंड दिस रियली वर्क्स। अभी तक आप मैनिफेस्ट कर रहे थे अपने लिए, वो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, उसको छोड़िएगा मत। बट ये एक थेरेपी है जहाँ आप इमेजिनरी लाइफ के बारे में देख रहे हैं कि क्या मैं वो लाइफ लिव कर सकता हूँ, उसके लिए क्या मुझे स्टेप लेना चाहिए। आपको नहीं समझ में आएगा, एक बार वापस पूरा 10 पॉइंट्स पढ़ लीजिएगा, उसके पहले चले जाइएगा, बिकॉज इट्स इंपॉर्टेंट टू अंडरस्टैंड। आप एनीबडी इन योर ग्रुप, ओके, फॉर ऑल द कैटलिस्ट एंड बूस्टर्स, you can discuss this also in your day, kya karna hai. In case you have a doubt, we can even have a follow-up session. It's okay to plan, let me know so that I can schedule a session. It's not tough, all of us can really understand it, but get it very clear that all of us are understanding and doing it. एक दूसरे को सपोर्ट करें, ये ना हो टफ लगे, अनइवेंटफुल लगे और इस हफ्ते हम एक्सरसाइज नहीं करें, तो फिर हम आगे ग्रो नहीं कर पाएंगे। एवरी वीक इज इम्पोर्टेंट, ये हफ्ते में स्प्रेड आउट करना है। मॉर्निंग पेजेस चालू रहेंगे, दे विल नॉट स्टॉप। अपार्ट फ्रॉम दिस विल हैपन, एंड इससे बहुत टाइम नहीं लगता है। चेक इन, how many days this week did you do the morning pages? We're hoping 7, remember. How was experience for you? How did the morning pages work for you? Describe them. For example, they felt stupid. I write all these itty bitty disconnected things about them. They didn't seem to have anything to do with one another. They were very vague. Remember, if you're writing morning pages, they are working for you. What were you surprised to find yourself writing about? Answer this question in full on to check-in page. This will be a weekly self scan of your moods, not your progress. Don't worry if your pages are whiny and trite. Sometimes that's the very best for you. अगर आपको याद नहीं कि आपने क्या चीज के बारे में लिखा है 7 days, it's okay. If you remember the basic ballpark thing, write that. क्या पता आप लिखें, oh, I'm clueless. Even that's also okay. Or you think, I wrote about this and ये खुला, very good. Did you do your artist date this week? Remember, the artist dates are a necessary frivolity. What did you do? How did it feel? ये आर्टिस्ट स्टेट बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, क्योंकि ये आप अपने साथ टाइम बिता रहे हैं जिसमें आप जो करना चाहते हैं उसमें आप इंटरेस्टेड हैं। Were there any other issues this week that you consider significant for your recovery? Describe them. So let's conclude this book, sir. Let's move on to the hard thought. So very very important कि हम ये करें. I know a lot of you will be doubt. दोबारा पढ़ लीजिएगा. And for all the catalyst and boosters, I'm going to send the entire section by screenshots on the group, or anybody can send them. And please circulate the same in all your groups. Let everyone read them again in detail and see what your life is all about. So your artist state is going to continue. Your morning page is going to continue. You've done that already. And now you're doing this. So I hope that's fine. Yeah. All right. Let's read further. So we're going to have a hard thought. Karishma, I think you should continue the heart thought so that we don't have a change of reader. And then, of course, the meditation. Today's heart thought is about parenthood in a way. Father, Father is the reason why you and I am born. How are you treating the elder people now? What you give out is what you are going to find out when you get older. So, आप क्या दे रहे हैं दूसरों को? What is coming in your life is very important. I have loving compassion for my father. So let's read about this.
If you have any stuff with your father, do a meditation in your mind and talk with him so that you can clean up old issues. Forgive him or forgive yourself. Tell him that you love him. Get cleaned up in your mind so that you can move into feeling more deserving of yourself, for yourself.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. So thank you, Karishma. You're fantastic, and I'm glad you read the chapter. So thank you so much. So when you asked me this question, Nisha, हमने कहा था पॉइंट नंबर 2 में आप क्या आर्टिस्ट डेट पे गए? अगर आप गए तो आपने क्या किया और कैसा फील हुआ? बस इतना ही लिखना है, लंबा चौड़ा कुछ भी नहीं है. Just analyze करना है कि how was the feeling of pampering yourself? An artist date is doing something that you love, right? So उतना ही है. This book is not tough. It may look like it's too much, but it's not. It's actually very, very, very simple. All right. So, which last point do you want me to explain to you, Sunita? आप में कोई चेंजेस आए कि नहीं आए, कुछ फील हो रहा है कि नहीं हो रहा, कुछ शिफ्ट हो रहा है कि नहीं, बस उतना ही है. So that's it. Point number 10. Sunita, I can't explain all the 10 points again. The point number 10 is now do that item. आपको बस वो करना है जो आपको 10 changes लिखे हैं, पूरा कुछ करना है. So anyways, आपको by the end of the day clarity मिल जाएगी. We'll be sending me assignments. So assignments में काफी clear हो जाएगा. So thank you everyone. Let's start our meditation. Please watch your backs, watch your postures. Sanjay sir, I hope that Nitin is the co-host. If not, please make him the co-host. Today's
I'm
will be a meditation for a mirror work. Let's wash our backs, our back straight, our eyes closed, our feet firmly placed on the ground below. Let's wear a smile and let's align. Let's take in a deep breath. Fill your lungs and body with love. Exhale love. Fill your body in as you inhale with light. Exhale light. Inhale abundance. Exhale abundance. Life is a giver. Life is magical. Life is an artist's state. We all are discovering ourselves by writing our morning pages. We all are going deeper and deeper. We're going for an artist date as well. Let's understand that life is what we create. Simply start without judging, and all things will automatically fit in like a piece of puzzle. No judgment, no doubt, no thinking that we are not very clear. Life is what you make out of it. Everything is clear as long as you want it to be. Get yourself aligned. Understand that you are growing as a new person. Today, we'll talk about a new understanding of our inner child, loving the inner child. Today, we'll go back in time, seeing ourselves as a little child of maybe 5 years. Hold out your arms and say to this child, I am your future and I have come to love you. Embrace this child lovingly and then bring it with you in the present time. See the two of you standing at a mirror, looking at each other lovingly. And as you stand there, become aware that there are so many parts of you that are missing. Now go back in time, even further to the very moment you were born. You've just come out of your mama's womb, just come out of the birth canal. It may have been a difficult trip. You feel the cold air, you see the bright lights, your little eyes just go tighter and come more closer. You feel somebody just smacked you. You have arrived. You are here to live a whole lifetime. Love that tiny little baby. Love that baby. Welcome that baby to a world of abundance. Now move forward in time to the moment when you began to walk. You would stand up and fall down, stand up and fall down, and stand up and fall down. And then suddenly you were standing and you took a step and another step and another step. Your podgy little feet are now finding their way and you're walking. Feel the glee of the people around you. Feel that confidence you have in walking. And smile. Love that child. Then move forward in time to your first day at school. You didn't want to leave your mama, but you did. You took your first steps over the threshold of your school. You were scared, yet you did it. You were doing the very best you could. Love that child. Love that child. Then remember your life around the age of 10 and everything that was going on then. It may have been wonderful. It may have been difficult. You were doing the very best you could to survive. And you made it. Love that child. Just love that child. Now let's move forward in time to the time when you were entering puberty and remember all that was going on. It probably was exciting but scary and maybe more than you could handle. But yes, you got through. You did the best you could and you made it. So love that teenager, love that child. Go to the time of your first job, how exciting it was to earn money. You wanted so badly to make a good impression, and there was so much to learn, but you did the best you could and you succeeded. Love that person. Just love that person. Remember the first time you were rejected in love and how much your heart hurt. You were sure no one would ever love you again. You were in so much of pain. You did the best you could and you made it. Love that person. Love that person. Then go to another milestone in your life. It might have been embarrassing or painful or wonderful, whatever it was. You were doing the best you could at that time with that understanding, knowledge, and awareness that you had then. So love that person. Love that person. Now gather all the many parts of yourself and bring them forward to the present. See yourself standing in front of the mirror with all of yourselves and realize that you are looking at the richness and fullness of your life. Of course, there were difficult times of confusion, and that's all right. That's all part of life. Love all of yourself. Now turn around as you look ahead. See a person standing before you with arms outstretched, saying, I am your future and I have come to love you. I love you. Life is an endless opportunity to love yourself, past, present, and future. Loving and accepting yourself at every part of yourself is healing. How can you possibly be whole or healed if you're rejecting any part of yourself? Healing is to make yourself whole again. Love yourself. Love every part of yourself and be whole. All is well, and so it is. Let's fold our hands in gratitude and bend our heads a bit and thank everything in our life from the time we were born till the time we've reached now. Thank your life for all that you've been given, all that you've been experiencing. Thank you, thank you, thank you, dear life. I love you. Now open your hands to the universe and thank it, acknowledge it. The universe, so much is happening in my life, and I thank you for that. Thank you for having my back. Divinities, thank you for showering us with your attention, with your blessings. Angels, thank you for everything. Guardians, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Bring your hands back at the heart level, rub them together, and quickly scan your body with love. Your head, your face, your ears, your neck, your shoulders, your arms, your upper back, middle back, lower back, your hips, your front chest, your lungs, your heart, your kidney, gallbladder, stomach, liver, intestine, sexual organs, excretory organs, your thighs, upper to lower, heels, and finally the soles of your feet. Come back up ever so gently. With that fast scanning, now it's time to say gratitude. Fold your hands once again in front of your hearts. Thank your bodies, the trillions of cells, the blood circulation system, the muscles, tissues, fibers, bones, and your skin. Dearest body, thank you. And I invoke my healing energy, my love, my light, my understanding and abundance with my Sangha, their loved ones, and the Mother Earth. Love, light, and blessings, Karishma, Sanya, Mehak, Prakash and Jigisha, Yashvi, Rigu and Naveen, Siddharth and Vandana, Ankur, Bharatbhai, Poonam, Ritu, Disha, Shelly, Shubhra, Shilpa, Kavita, Nisha, Sapna, Pooja, Anika, Badri, Archana, Gyanji Ushaji, Akshay, Richa, Parul, Neha, Sunita, Bhuvan, Mitu, Sakshi, Nehal, Mudita, Kripa, Shami and Ankur, Monica, Sakshi, Nikita, Rajiv and Payal, Prashant, Asmeet, Alona, Selish, and her daughters, beautiful ones, Jitendra, Raviji and Chandraji, Pratimaji, Ankita, Shivangi, Reena, Shruti, Shivani, Garman, Gaurav, Neelam, Sangeeta, Seema, Rashi, Amit, Peena, Richa, Prachi, Reema, Alifia, Shalu, Monish, Kuldeepji, Minakshi, Radniji, Rohiniji, and to everyone whose camera is off. So thank you, Ritesh, Sanjay sir, for hosting the session. And to all those who have doubt over the artists, don't worry. Everything will become clear. Assignments will come very soon. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's see each other tomorrow morning at